Welcome to Monday's English class. Everybody get your books ready. Today we'll go on for between an hour and an hour and 15 minutes, and the remainder minutes will be for you to call in and have video conferences for you to send in your audio files, and I will be available until around 9 o'clock for everybody. So I'm actually available for the whole hour and a half, plus give or take a few minutes. Get your book, and let's get started. We're still doing chapter 3, What's in the News? The next topic is dates. Page 29, number 1. Answer the questions and tell a partner. Well, we're doing this differently since everyone is in their own living room or their computer room, their library, wherever they are. I'm going to be asking you, and I'm going to be giving you answers, which I'll try to write on here on the screen for you. What's the date today? That's the first question. So you have a few ways of saying this. What's the date today? Today is the 30th of March. That's one way of saying it. Today is the 30th of March. Let me see if I can fit it into the screen. Somewhere where you can actually read it. Today is the 30th of March. That's one way of saying it. What's another way of saying it? Today is the 30th of March. That's one way of saying the date. What's another way of saying it? Today is March 30th. And I'm going to write this down for you as well. March 30th. Usually in America they say March 30th. The 30th of March is not very common in the United States. In England they probably use the 30th of March more. Today is March 30th, 2020. Today is March 30th, 2020. Here we go. I'm gonna open a white document, a blank document in the back, and I'm going to be writing things here as well. But before we start, maybe it would be a good idea to explain this. I feel like I have talked about this a little bit before, but it's always worth explaining. This is about methodology. And I like to make this clear to the students because when you're learning a language, understanding the process can be very helpful. I have here behind me two names of methods or approaches to teaching EFL, English as a Foreign Language. The grammar translation method is widely used still here in Norway, although it's very old-fashioned and it was dropped many decades ago. This is how they taught languages back in the First and Second World Wars, when they were just teaching people how to learn how to translate things. It's not very effective because what happens is whenever a person relies too much on translation, they're trying to say something and they think, okay, here's the sentence in my first language, now let me translate it to English, and now let me say it. So it's you actually take 3 steps, whereas when you try to think up your sentences in the language already in your head, you don't have to go through those 3 steps, and you have more fluid conversations. You can be more fluent in the language. So instead of translating everything from English to Norwegian the whole time, what I do is I teach in English. Especially because in Norwegian culture, what you have is movies, songs, especially television. Television is mostly in English with subtitles. It's not dubbed. In countries like Germany, France, and Brazil, and other countries, television is dubbed. So you have actors speaking in French or in German on TV instead of having it in English. So you're exposed to a lot of English here. So what I do is I use the communicative approach in my classes mostly for English. I try to use as much English as I possibly can. Here and there I will translate some words, and I could and I do teach in Norwegian when I have a group of people that is very inexperienced and has never studied a language before. In the beginning, then I explain everything in Norwegian. So, but here in this class, we'll be using the communicative approach. I'll be trying to speak as much English as I possibly can. Moving along, dates. So, here's a way to write the date, mostly American, March 30th, 2020. '30th of March, 2020. March is always capitalized. The months and the days of the week are always capitalized. Big letters for those. So what's the date today? Today is March 30th, 2020, or today is the 30th of March. If you want, you can also say the 30th of March, 2020. What is the date tomorrow? Try to write it in a chat box if you're able to. Tomorrow is the 31st. So here you write an ST under. Why do you write an ST there, the 31st of March? Why is that? That ST So you just take the ST from the word first, the 31st. What's the day after tomorrow? The day after tomorrow is April 1st. April 1st, which in some cultures is when some people celebrate April Fool's Day. Does anybody know what April Fool's Day is? It is a day when people play pranks. They play pranks on each other, or maybe somebody writes on their Facebook status, I am going to prison, or people say, I'm pregnant, or I just won $1 million. They say something outrageous, and then everybody has to be like, wow, is that really true? Or people can play pranks and do other things, different pranks. And then they can say something like, I just won $1 million. And then somebody comes and says, hey, congratulations on the $1 million. And you say, April Fool's Day. So I'm not sure if every culture celebrates it, but American culture celebrates it, not a few other cultures celebrate it. Now, other questions for you to answer. When's your birthday? My birthday is July 11th. And here the TH stands for 11th. 11th. So you have the cardinal numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are cardinal numbers. Cardinal numbers. And you have the ordinal numbers. First, second, third, fourth, etc. Those are ordinal numbers. So think of the order. The first place, second place, third place, fourth place. So those are ordinal numbers. What's your date of birth? So here you have 2 questions. When's your birthday? What's your date of birth? What is the difference between those 2? There is a difference. What is it? Now I ask you, when's your birthday? Usually you will just say month and day. When's your birthday? Somebody asks you that, they just want to know the month and the day. But usually when you're filling out documents and official papers, then you might be asked, what's your date of birth? July 11th, 1972. Date of birth. Your date of birth includes the month, the date, and the year. What year were you born? What year were you born? What preposition do you use here to talk about the year when you were born? I was born in 1972. Let's talk about the prepositions that you use for different aspects of the date. Very important. I was born in 1972. I was born in July. Remember, capital letter here for July. In July. Then when you give the complete date, I was born on the 11th of July, 1972. So when you give the complete date of birth, you use on. Days of the week. I was born on a Wednesday. Also capitalize the days of the week. Remember to use the preposition on for days of the week. Now let's take a look at the audio file for this. Let's have a listen. Hopefully the sound will be good enough.
Tape script 3.14. Dates.
What's the date today?
March the 18th. Tomorrow's the 19th. The day after tomorrow's the 20th. When's your birthday?
November the 8th.
Oh, that's next week.
What's your date of birth?
12/9/87.
Sorry, what was that?
The 12th of the 9th, 87. What year were you born?
1982.
Oh, you're the same age as me. Tape script 3.
Okay, let's repeat that, and then I'll also read. For those of you who have this edition of the book, it's the thicker book that has all the units in it. The tape scripts will be at the very end, and it says you have a grammar reference at the end of the book, which is a mini grammar book at the very end. You also have the tape scripts. If you have this edition of the book with all the units, they will be on page 118 and page 119, all the way up to, I feel like it's 130 something. Yes, all the way up to page 135. So the tape scripts for all the units are here. So we're going to listen, but then I'll read for you from the tape scripts.
Dates.
What's the date today?
March the 18th. Tomorrow's the 19th. The day after tomorrow's the 20th. When's your birthday?
November the 8th.
Oh, that's next week.
What's your date of birth?
12/9/87.
Sorry, what was that?
The 12th of the 9th, 87. What year were you born?
1982.
Oh, you're the same age as me. Tape script 3.
Okay, before we move on to that, I'm going to write all the answers here. The first one, what's the date today? March the 18th. What's the date tomorrow? Tomorrow is March the 19th. The day after tomorrow is March the 20th. Pronunciation wise, it's very important that you say the in the end. 19th, 20th, or 20th. You can say it like that too. When is your birthday? And that person's birthday was November the 8th. Not to be confused with the 18th. 8th. This one is the 8th. Not to be confused with 18th. 8th, 18th. 8th, 18th. But the answer here was the 8th. November the 8th. The next question was, what's your date of birth? Very important. When you ask somebody their date of birth, month, date, and year. Or if you decide to go with the British way, then you say the day first, the date, the 11th of July. So I'll give you the two options. The British way. What's your date of birth? The 11th of July, 1972. The American way, July 11th, 1972. But that person's birthday, they actually said it differently. The 12th of the 9th, 1987. So, the 12th, they actually said it this way. The 12th of the 9th, 87, which is the 12th of September 1987. So that's another way of saying the date. The ninth month of the year. The 9th month of the year. What year were you born? Well, I was born in 1972, but the person here on the book was born in 1982. Remember the preposition. I was born in 1982. In is the correct preposition to be used here. When you just mention the year, when you just mention the month, you use in. The test is in May. In that month. If you give the complete date, the test is on May 29th, 2020. So when you give the complete date, on. When you just mention the year, when you just mention the month, in. Just say the day of the week. Her birthday is on Monday. On Monday. Moving along. Look at the two ways of saying the date. So there are two ways. The 22nd of June, June the 22nd. Tape script 3.15 is when you will hear all those dates and how they will be said.
Point 15.
The 3rd of February. February the 3rd.
The 6th of April. April the 6th.
The 12th of July. July the 12th.
The 25th of December. December the 25th. The 1st of May. May the 1st.
The 16th of August. August the 16th.
The 13th of January. January the 13th.
The 31st of October. October the 31st.
So now you have an opportunity to practice at home. So let's repeat. I'd like you to repeat after me. As long as you close the door so people don't hear you say what you're saying, so people don't think you're crazy. But then if somebody hears you, just say, hey, I'm not nuts, I'm just practicing my English. That's not a problem. So, number 1, February 3rd. Let's try it once again. February 3rd. Or the 3rd of February. Number 2, 6th of April or April 6th. Number 3, July 12th or the 12th of July. Number 4, December 25th, the 25th of December. Remember, it's of. Of with one F, of. With two F's, for example, turn off the television. When you say off with two F's, it's as an F. One F, you will hear the sound of a V. And remember that the V's in English are vibrant. V. I know that Norwegian doesn't really have a lot of vibrant sounds like Z, V, Z. Doesn't have that, but English does. So you have to go that extra mile to include these sounds into your repertoire of sounds. I think it's number 5 now. May 1st. May 1st, which is the American way of saying it. Month, date. The American way. First you say the month, then you say the date. May 1st. The British way, the 1st of May. Number 6. The British way, the 16th of August. The American way, August 16th. Number 7, January 13th. That's the American way. The British way, the 13th of January. Number 8, October 31st, which is the American way, or the 31st of October, which is what? Those are some special dates here. What happens on October 31st? Does anybody know? If you said Halloween, you were right. It's not exactly a holiday. Halloween is not a holiday. But Halloween is a special date for some people who choose to celebrate it. So if you said Halloween, you are right. If you said Halloween, then you're right. What happens on the 25th of December? What happens on the 25th of December? Christmas. Of course, different cultures celebrate it differently. Different cultures celebrate it differently. Which brings us to the topic of last class. Just a reminder. Different cultures celebrate it differently. So here you have two words from the same family. Different, differently. One of these words describes something. One of these words describes something, and one of these words describes how something is done. The word that describes something is the adjective. The word that describes how something is done is the adverb. So the adjective here is different. Different cultures. So I'm describing the cultures. They're different. In the second part of the sentence there, celebrate it differently. How do they celebrate? They celebrate it differently. So here you have an adjective. And here you have an adverb. Now back to the subject at hand here. So what do we celebrate on the 25th? Here in Norway, you celebrate Christmas on the 24th. You open presents on the 24th. You eat your Christmas dinner on the 24th. And in a lot of other cultures, people open their presents on the 25th in the morning. In some cultures, the 26th is also a day to celebrate. In New Zealand, Australia, the United States, which are countries where I have celebrated Christmas before, they celebrate Boxing Day on the 26th. It's a celebration for them. They do something special. Here in Norway, some families have gatherings. They have different families have different traditions. The day after Christmas is called Boxing Day in some countries. How about May 1st? What's May 1st? What's May 1st? May is a very special month here in Norway. Lots of holidays, several holidays. May 1st being one of them. May 1st is a celebration of Labor Day in a lot of countries, and it's when workers have their day off to celebrate work. They don't work on that day to celebrate work. Labor Day, because labor also means work. Spelling of the word labor. We often talk about different spellings. The British spelling of the word labor. Other examples of British spelling here. Favor. Neighbor. Celebrated. So my neighbors celebrated Christmas different from me. And if I'm writing this in British English, I'll spell it O-U-R. And if you choose to spell the words labor, favor, and neighbor like that, then you also have to spell words like center, center, or center. You can choose the pronunciation that you feel is best for you, that you feel more comfortable with. Center, T-R-E in the end. Other words, theater, theater, if you want to pronounce it that way, is up to you. You can pronounce it either center, center, or center. It's your choice. They're all correct. But just remember that in British English, then you have this spelling. And in American English, the American spelling of these words. Neighbor, favor. What was the other word again? Labor. It started this whole thing. Theater, center. So you have to keep, when you write academic papers, business letters, whenever you're doing something official in English language, you have to keep a standard. So if you're going to use American English, then you have to keep the spelling compatible with that. What else do you have to watch for? Which is not spelling, but structure. For instance, have you got a pen? I have got a brother. That is British. The American structure for this, instead of have you got becomes do you have a pen? That's the American way of saying it. I have got a brother. I have a brother. So that's American. So if you're writing in American English, you have to spell center like this, you have to spell theater like this, and you have to write the words favor without a U, labor. So you have to keep everything compatible, everything in the same, using the same norm. If you're doing, of course, an academic paper, you're writing a business letter, something official documents, have to have one type of English. You can't mix the two. And when it comes to pronunciation, there's something called EIC, which is and has been for a number of years now what is the most important. English for international communication. And what that means is that your pronunciation has to be intelligible. People have to be able to understand you. So it doesn't really matter if you choose British pronunciation or American pronunciation, or if you have a thick accent from another language. As long as people understand you, you're speaking English for international communication. If your pronunciation and your accent is tremendously thick and you can't really understand what you're saying, then that's a problem. Having an accent on its own is not a problem. It's intelligibility that's important. Your pronunciation has to be intelligible. People have to understand what you're saying. That's what intelligible means. It doesn't have anything to do with intelligence. It has something to do with intelligibility, of how much people understand of what you're saying. And you're supposed to understand what you're saying. That's the main goal. Now let's go back to the book, page 29. Tape script 3.16.
Tape script 3.16.
February 3rd, April 6th, July 12th, December 25th, May 1st, August 16th, January 13th, October 31st.
Tape script 3.17. 1. When did man first land on the moon?
On July the 20th, 1969.
2.
When's your wedding anniversary?
November the 8th. 3.
When did the Berlin Wall come down?
The 9th of November, 1989.
4. When was your son born?
July the 21st, 2010.
5.
What's the expiry date on your credit card?
0618.
Now let's check on all of these. Remember, your tape scripts are at the end of the book. If you want to check later and if you want to make sure and read by yourself and practice. So let's take a look at those questions. I want you to write the date, but I also want you to try to write down the questions as well. Let's try this. And I'll write them down for you too, but I want you to try to write down the questions yourselves. Number 1, when did man first land on the moon? Number 1, when did man first land on the moon? When did man first land on the moon? But what was the answer to that? On July 20th, 1969. When did man first land on the moon? Try to practice saying this as well. When did man first land on the moon? On July 20th, 1969. Number 2, I'll read it a couple of times, try to write it down, and then I'll write it down. If you're really impatient about this, you can just go to the back of the book and look at the tape scripts. Number 2, when's your wedding anniversary? When's your wedding anniversary? November the 8th. November the 8th. Number 3. When did the Berlin Wall come down? Number 3. That's a historical event, by the way. When did the Berlin Wall come down? When did the Berlin Wall come down? And when was that? The 9th of November, 1989. The 9th of November, 1989. Number 4. When was your son born? When was your son born? July the 21st, 2010. July the 21st, 2010. Last one, number 5. What's the expiry date on your credit card? What's the expiry date on your credit card? It's the last day when you can use your credit card. That's the expiry date. 06/18. So this person's credit card has already expired 2 years ago. Not to be confused, do not confuse expiry date with expiration date. What's the difference there? Expiry date and expiration date. Expiration date is the last date when you can eat food that you buy. Usually, it might still be good if you keep it in the refrigerator, but maybe not. The expiration date, for example, you buy milk and then it says best before that date. Nowadays, they don't really use expiration date as much as they use best before a certain date. So here, the next page. Actually, we're still on page 29. We're still here. Number 8. Complete the time expressions with in, at, on. So we have talked about this a little bit, but let's see how much you remember. 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock. 2004. In 2004. The weekend. At the weekend or on the weekend. They're both correct. In the evening. On January 18th. In the 1960s. The other day. The other day. So here, the other day, you don't need to put any prepositions at all here. Remember, this is on video, at least for a few more weeks, so that everybody that took the course will have the videos available, so you can watch it again, and you can check the answers later. So don't go like, whoa, I didn't write this down. On Saturday, on Monday morning, in April, yesterday evening, no preposition, yesterday evening. I talked to Carla yesterday evening. In the summer, 2 weeks ago, this morning, no preposition. At midnight. And remember, on page 138, if you have this edition, at the very back of the book, but even if you don't have this same edition with all the units, it will still be at the end of the book. You have a mini grammar book right after, you have all the tape scripts, right after that you have a grammar reference, a mini grammar. So here, at the very bottom of the page, the grammar reference, at the very bottom, you have all the explanations on how to use the prepositions. At 6 o'clock, at midnight, at Christmas, or during Christmas is also a possibility, at the weekend or on the weekend, in 27, in the morning, in 2007, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, in summer or in the summer, in 2 weeks' time. When you say in 2 weeks' time, it's in the future. Future, still gonna happen. It's going to happen in the future. So what that means is when I say I will send you a copy of this letter in 2 weeks' time. So 2 weeks from now. That's what that means. On Saturday, on Monday morning, on Christmas Day, on January 18th. So when you have the complete date, on January 18th. No preposition. 2 weeks ago. So in Norwegian, speakers of Norwegian as their first language, or perhaps people who are more used to speaking Norwegian than English, they might have a problem with this because you say things like this. So in Norwegian, you have a preposition right here. So what happens is sometimes your brain is so wired and focused in speaking Norwegian. Maybe it's your first language. Maybe you've just been living here forever and you don't really use other languages, just Norwegian. So you have that preposition there, and you tend to bring it into English as well when you don't need it. I spoke to Janne 2 weeks ago. No preposition. No preposition there. In Norwegian, you have a preposition, but in English, you don't. So it is correct to say Jeg snakket med Janne for 2 uker siden. And it's correct to say it in English without that for. You don't need to put it there. That means no. You don't need to put it there. In English, I spoke to Janne 2 weeks ago. No preposition there. So, from this point on, you're not going to be forgiven for writing an essay, for writing an exercise and sending it to me and putting a preposition in front of that 2 weeks ago. Because you already know that you don't put a preposition there. In Norwegian, in English, you don't. I spoke to Janne 2 weeks ago. I arrived in Norway 18 years ago. We started doing online classes instead of classes in the classroom 3 weeks ago. Is it 3 weeks? It is the third time that we're doing this, so I'm thinking yes, 3 weeks ago. So just remember, no preposition. When you use that expression with ago, do not put a preposition there. Just do that in Norwegian because it's correct in Norwegian. Don't do it in English. Next month, no preposition. Tomorrow morning, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. I have a class at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you don't need to put a preposition before tomorrow morning. Tonight, see you tonight. No preposition there either. Very important stuff. Okay, the next thing that we're supposed to do is work in small groups. We're not going to be able to do that, so we have to be creative with the situation here. So here's what we're going to do. I'll help you formulate the questions for this exercise, and you can ask and answer later on. You can make audio files. Some of you have been sending me audio files, which is excellent because you need to have some pronunciation practice as well as speaking practice. And unless you get into a conference with me, a video conference, or you send in audio files, then you won't have any of that. So it's very important. Send in audio files, schedule a video conference. Next, so I'm going to write the questions down. Work in small groups. When did you last? So let's formulate the questions for that. All of them will start with, when did you last play a sport? When did you last go to a party? Let me write an example. When did you last play a sport? So in the question, when I ask a question, I have to put did. And I also have to write the verb in its infinitive form. But when I answer this question, I have to conjugate the verb into the past. What's the past of play? Played. I last played a sport in 1987. I played soccer for the first and last time in 1987. Next. When did you last go to a party? Again, here I have to write did, and go is in its infinitive form because it's the word did that indicates it's in the past tense. When I formulate the answer, it becomes I last, what's the past of go? Went. I last went to a party in 2004. What's number 3? When did you last do an exam? I last did an exam in 2005. So here, do is the verb. And it might be a little confusing because we have did here as an auxiliary verb, hjälpverb, auxiliary verb, and we have did here just as the main verb in the sentence. In the sentence, I have the subject, I, did is the verb, and then we have other words here to complement that sentence. Last is an adverb that modifies the verb did. Number 4. When did you last have a holiday? Very important. When did you last have a holiday? Did, have. But when you formulate the answer, have becomes had, the past of the verb have. I last had a holiday in 2014. I went to Denmark. Next. When did you last get a present? When did you last get a present? I last, so here you have did you get. What's the past of get? If you said got, you're correct. I last got a present for Christmas last year. Got is the past of get. Get, got, gotten. When did you last buy clothes? I last, so here you have did. Did you buy? I last bought. Pronunciation here. This is only pronounced as bought. I know there is a G, a U, a G, and an H, but don't worry about these letters because you're not pronounced at all. Bought. Buy, bought, bought. Don't pronounce these letters. Just think of the B, A, T, bought. Bought. I last bought clothes, I don't even know. Last year, I'm gonna say, I think. I last bought clothes last year. Last year. What is the next question? When did you last go online? A few minutes ago, an hour ago. I am online now. When did you last go online? So you have to formulate your answer and you have to pay attention to where you put did you go. So when you use did, you don't conjugate the verb. Conjugate, böje. You don't need to. You only conjugate it when you formulate the answer. I last, and what's the past of go? Went. I last I last went online an hour ago or so. Som cirka an hour ago or so. Next one. When did you last cook a meal? When did you last cook a meal? Did cook. What's the past of cook? Cooked. I last cooked a meal many years ago. Rice. I made rice out of scratch. From scratch. Not from the box. I last cooked a meal. So here you have all the questions, and this is going to be part of your homework. You're going to answer these questions yourself about when you last did these things on page 29. The next thing we're going to do now is page 30. Eat, drink, and be merry. Not marry, but merry, as in happy. So let's go to that page. Page 30. On page 30, you'll find a text. You'll also see a picture. Eat, drink, and be merry. An extraordinary ambition. So that's the page where we're reading right now. An extraordinary ambition. Klaus Bonrick and his wife Elvira are a successful young couple. Klaus is a software programmer and Elvira works in a health food shop. In many ways, their life is quite ordinary, but they have an extraordinary ambition. They want to live until they're 120. And they believe they can do this by following an American health plan called the calorie restriction diet. Klaus and Elvira eat a lot of raw food. They steam some food, but they don't fry, grill, or roast anything. And there are many things they don't eat at all. We want to live to be 120. Look at the picture and see what they have there. Let's take a look at the picture and tell me what you see. In that picture, you see some foods that they're eating. They have a banana, a mango, some bread, It looks like bread, but maybe not, since they can't. Can they bake things? Well, they can't grill, cook, or fry, but perhaps they can bake. What's in the bowl? The woman has a bowl of fruit. So what we're going to discuss here in this chapter, some, any, how much, how many, count and non-count nouns. So certain things you count. For example, you can say a banana. But when it comes to fruit, for you to talk about fruit, it's either a piece of fruit or some fruit. And it's all about how you use it in a question. For example, would you like some fruit? Would you like some fruit? Yes, I would like a piece of fruit, please. Or, for example, you can also use words like slice. A slice of. You also use slice for bread. So we're going to study this. A piece of, some, any. Is there any? Are there any? Count and non-count. So some of you who took the course that we studied with the elementary book before this one. This is an intermediate book. We did a whole course here, not here, but at Iskola with the elementary book where there was a chapter where we studied all of this. Some, any, how much, how many, but it is always important to review these things. So the next page, the grammar spot, is exactly about that. So that's the next grammar topic. Some, any, how much, how many, and it's something that everyone has studied at some point. If you come to this level of English, an upper intermediate or an advanced course, you have seen this before. So the rule is, and in our region you have vurmanga, vurmia. So one thing that can work for you is if you translate vurmia as, so let's write this down here. How much? Vurmia. If you understand how much as vurmia, and if you understand how many as vurmanga, that will take you a long way, because it will, in most cases, that's how you will translate it. So, how many? Vurmanga. How much? Vurmia. If you have that in mind, this will get you a long way with this subject. And how do we use all of this? How much? How much? Fundamentally for things that you cannot count. How much water would you like to drink? How much milk do you put in your coffee? How much juice do you drink in a day? So liquids. Think of liquids. How much perfume do you wear? Liquids and also grains. How much rice would you like to eat? So how much salad would you like? Because you can count perhaps how many tomatoes would you like to put in your salad? How many onions would you like to put in your salad? But the salad itself, and by salad I don't mean the green vegetable lettuce. I mean salad as a mixture of lots of vegetables. It is kind of confusing because in Norwegian you have the word salat, which means both salad and lettuce, which is a separate vegetable on its own. But as long as you remember to use how much for things you don't count and how many for things that you count, then you're all set. But we're going to look at this in detail. So your homework will be, before we even go too far, don't forget page 29, the questions in number 9. Answer all those questions about yourself, giving information about yourself. Possibly make an audio file. Possibly also make an audio file and submit that to me, send that to me. And make sure that you write at least one essay each week. You've received, I believe, an entire, you received about 30 or 40 items. I think you have one more class, or is this the last one? If this is the last one, then this homework will be for the next course for people who are continuing on. But I believe it might be, we might have one more day, I think the 7th of April, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, then there will be another course that will be a shorter course, perhaps just between April and May. You will be online, and it will be slightly different. If we have a group with 5 people tops, then we'll have 45 minutes this way, in this format, that you come and you sit and watch the class. And the other 45 minutes will be either on Google Hangouts or Skype, where everyone will be together on camera preferentially. But if you don't want to be on camera and you just want to be on audio, you can do that as well. So it will be fully online, the next course. And you'll have more information about that from Gisela. She's already setting up courses online. Let me show you. If you go to the website, I'll put this on there. So here, it already says nettbasert. Lots of courses here. Nettbasert. Chinese, Korean, even Norwegian, Spanish. So there are lots of courses. German, French. All of them will be online courses. And I don't know if you've been to the website. Let me show you. On the website, you also have some videos here, some instructional videos.
Quick ones?
refresh your grammar. In order to follow along this video, you can download the exercises from our website. Hello, today we're going to do some exercises in English.
These videos were videos that we made 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe. We made those videos for to promote the school when things were starting off, but they're still available on the website. So you can get more information. You go on here where it says contact, then write your name, give your email, and send her a message so that you can have more information about the courses when they're going to start. So for those of you continuing on, if today is the last day, then the homework will be for the following course, and it will be fully online. A part of it will be, like I said, the 45 minutes with me on the screen, and then 45 minutes on either Google Hangouts or Skype. We're going to figure out a way where everyone can be in that setting so everyone can participate. It will be fully online. Everybody have a good night.